it is, what it do. You tuned into the Jose Morales podcast. I'm your host, Jose Morales, and we're back in the ring. In this episode, I am going to be by myself, solo episode. I'm going to be talking about things that I feel are important, and I'm going to call this episode Pass the Baton. What I mean by that is sharing our knowledge with one another, bringing our experiences and what we learned in our life and passing our baton to the next person so they can get further down. And that's what this episode is going to be about. Before I jump into that, I hope you enjoyed the previous episode with Bobby Jackson and myself when we talked about coaching. That was roughly a little bit over a month ago. I'm trying to land these once a month. This is my next episode here. I'm gonna give you a little update. I have been a little bit out of the loop because I've been traveling a lot. I went on vacation with my wife and my kids. And then I went also to Colorado for a national tournament. And then I was in Vegas for my birthday weekend. So I have been a little bit out of the loop. I had a great time on vacation. I went to the Virgin Islands. I also went to Puerto Rico. I was 5 days in the Virgin Islands at St. John. And then beautiful beaches, by the way. If you guys ever get an opportunity to go to the Virgin Islands, go. It is gorgeous. We were on probably the most beautiful beaches I've ever been on. Not that that says much because I haven't been to that many, but beautiful beaches. But we were alone. Not that many people. I was on my favorite beach alone with my wife and kids. So that right there, it was just amazing. Was in Puerto Rico for 3 days. It was my third time in Puerto Rico, so it was pretty cool. I'll share a story with you guys. I went to one of my favorite restaurants that I always go to. The taxi driver didn't even know how to get there, and I told him how to get there. My wife started laughing just because, I'm very good with like sense of direction. So it was just funny that even the taxi driver was laughing at how I told him how to get there and he didn't know about it. But Puerto Rico was nice, and then I went to Pueblo, Colorado for a national tournament. Pueblo, Colorado was very interesting. The vibe, it had a beautiful river walk though. Went to Colorado Springs for a day though, went on a hike with my wife. It was actually the first tournament my wife comes with me, so that was good. Then from there we shot over to Vegas. And I was in Vegas for the Mexico Independence Day. I spent it there for my birthday. Great time. Went to a concert. Went to a show. Gambled, played some poker, won some money in some poker. A great time in Vegas, but that is what kept me away from doing a podcast because I was gone and then when I wasn't gone, I was trying to get everyone ready for the tournament. So it was a lot going on. I'm going to be back the whole month of October. We have fights every weekend in October. So I'm gone for tournaments and fights every weekend. In November, I'm going to Phoenix for a boxing tournament. So the competition and all that is jumping. We have about 20 people competing this month and in November in Phoenix. So getting all that prepped and all that is going to be a lot of time. I do have 2 episodes that I have coming for you guys that are going to be good with guests. But until then, you get this solo episode with me. This episode, I'm going to be sharing a lot of things that I've noticed. And you know what, to be honest, traveling and seeing, there's things that traveling brings to me and to my attention. Like, for example, some things you feel like you only see in your area, or you feel like it only happens to you, or this can't be happening somewhere else, or this can't be happening here. But then when I go to Colorado, and then I go to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and then I go to all these other cities and places that I've never been to, you start seeing that it's the same thing everywhere. It's not just here. It's the same shit everywhere. Same shit, different toilet. And what I mean by that is you have people that are grinding, working, putting their head down, just working. You have people that are on drugs. You have people that are grinding away, trying to build their careers, just going to school or going this. It's the same story everywhere. You have the same type of people in every part of the world. And when I see this, I start thinking, what can we do to get more ahead of ourselves? What can we do so that this next person doesn't relive everything that we did? And I feel like that's something we do. We make the same mistakes that could be prevented. One thing that I've always talked about and shared with multiple people is where I gained my education was not through school, was not through college and all this. My education came from talking to people. And it came from talking from multiple people, successful people, non-successful people, people in the same age group, people older, younger, every background. And I learned from everybody. I learned from their mistakes, what they did right, what they did wrong. And then I applied it in my life. So what I saw someone do and all the good things they did, I'm like, I'm gonna take some of that because it obviously worked out for them. What I saw they do bad, I don't want to do that because this is what didn't work out, and this is how they ended up there. And that's kind of where I started getting my education from and getting my ideas, and then I started applying it in my life. And that's where I blame my success from that. Obviously, the things that the opportunities arose from that because I put myself in situations, but this all came from people around me in the network and the people that I put around in my life. This is where I hope to shed some light with you guys in this podcast is hopefully not only are you going to gain from what I'm going to share in this podcast, but hopefully this gives you the motivation to start sharing your knowledge with people around you and not keeping it a secret. What I mean by that is when you make a mistake or you learn something or something happens, we tend to keep it to ourselves. It's easier as a coach. Obviously, I get to talk to other people, but maybe at home sharing it with nieces and nephews, cousins, friendships, neighbors, and things like that, and starting more conversations with natural, organic conversations with people. And the reason why I'm a firm believer in this is this. I was watching, I think it was a History Channel a while ago, and it talked about all these different human species at the very beginning. There was a ton of them. It was more than just the human race. But the difference between the human race and all the other ones was the human race, which is us, the reason why we survived, is that we were very social. We talked, we communicated, and we helped one another. And that's what's helped us survive versus everybody else. They were more like wild animals. They were selfish. They didn't really work as a team versus the humans did. And that's what we're getting away from now. That's my belief. I feel like little by little, with more as time goes, we're slowly becoming more antisocial. We're on phones. We're not having good conversations with one another at home, at school, with our neighbors. When do you sit in your front yard and talk to your neighbor or go to the park and talk to random strangers? Some of you may, but not everybody. And I think that's where we need to, again, pass the baton. And that's why I want to name this episode that, is because I feel like we make the same mistake in every new life. A new child is born, and they're restarting the same race we started. So we started the race, we ran a lap. And instead of passing the baton to them and they continue on to lap 2, they start all over. And they're starting the race from the very beginning. Now they're running the same lap we already did, where we could have just shared our knowledge and helped them and guided them so they can start lap 2. And then they could pass the baton to somebody else and they can start lap 3 now. But what we're seeing is everyone starting the race over and over again, and we're not getting ahead. Where we could get so much further ahead if we all communicated and all passed the baton one another and help the human race as a whole come further versus where we're at. And a big part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up is election year's coming up. That's coming up next year, which is crazy how fast these 4 years went by. But if you remember last election year, which was 2020 COVID year. And in my life, not that I've seen many election years, because I'm not 48 like my neighbor thinks, but I feel like it's one of the most segregated, one of the most full of hate, full of tension, that's the correct word, full of tension year that I've experienced with election. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. You know, I feel like anything that's man-made politics, or anything not man-made, anything that you can't talk about without arguing, like they say religion, politics, and sports, you can't talk about it without arguing. If it gets to the point, I mean, all these things are good things. Like, I'm a firm believer in sports. Obviously, you know how much I believe in sports. And I feel like these things are all good. You know, religion is good, sports is good, politics is good. But when you get so invested in it and so much into it that you hate somebody, or you can't talk to someone because of their religious belief or the team they like or the political view they have, that's when it becomes bad. And I feel like the last election year, that's where it kind of became. I've seen a lot of families didn't talk, a lot of friends that, oh, I unfollowed him because he posted this and I don't believe in that. It's like, damn, it got that serious. And the reason I'm the one going to talk about this is I was that person when I was young and immature and dumb. I was the type of guy that I would fight people if they were in a Laker jersey. I would be very aggressive and hate somebody because they like the Lakers. Now I look back, I'm like, I'm fucking retarded for that. I can't believe I even put myself in that situation because I let sports get to me that much. And I think, you know, those sports, religion, and politics, they all have a good purpose. And I'm not saying don't go out there and don't vote and don't be involved in it and I'm not saying that. I think we should be a part of it and we should vote and we shouldn't. But when it gets to the point that you cannot have a good debate and actually listen to the other person and they listen to you, I think that's politics. I think that's how it should be handled. Same thing with everything else. Understand where they're coming from and understand each other, communicate with one another. I think that's crucial. I think that's key. That's key. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring up in this episode is don't let this happen again. Don't let this be like 2020. I know election year, we're gonna get a whole bunch of things that are gonna come up, you know, a whole bunch of things to distract us, to get us to vote a certain way or get us to believe a certain thing. Whatever it is that come in your mind and come to your heart, don't let it take control that you hate somebody over it. And then pass the baton, share your knowledge, talk to people, talk to your kids, talk to everyone and get different perspectives on your belief and their belief and get familiar with their story. This is my belief with everything. You know, everything you gotta lead, especially with politics and I think it starts with yourself, you know, at what you can control in your home. At the end of the day, it's not gonna matter who's president. It doesn't matter if I have a Democrat or Republican there. The happiness starts with myself and my home and what I do at home. And that's really how you're gonna inspire people. You know, you start doing that, people start, you know, wanting to be like you, or you're gonna start wanting to be like somebody that does good in their life because the way they're inspiring you. So that's my belief. That's what I feel like is the correct way to go about all this versus depending on, oh, if we have this person, this is gonna be better for me. No. At the end of the day, it starts with you in your home. So don't let this get out of hand again because of whatever it is that's going on. And the best way to describe everything with this is try to take, like for example, when I go talk, I was at a juvenile hall center last week and I went to go talk to them. And I have people there, like some of the kids there, some are locked in and they're listening and they're ready to take in. Some are all over the place. You could tell they don't really care. They're kind of like whatever. And I don't blame them. They probably get a lot of people that go in there and talk to them and share all this stuff with them and talk about all these great things. So they're probably a little bit numb to the situation. Or some people may not even connect with me. They're like, there's nothing to his story that I connect with. So I don't blame them. But the reason why I bring this up is, you have to want to take in what you're receiving. You got to be able to, not just with when someone passes a baton to you and is ready to hear, this is for you, you got to be willing to accept that and take it and run with it. And how do you take it and run with it and continue on is really understand where they're coming from, really understand what they've been through and what they're trying to give to you, and then apply it. So it doesn't matter if you have all these people sharing all this knowledge, but if you're not really taking it and really not applying it in your life, then again, you're restarting the race yourself. So really sit there, listen, take what's being handed to you and being taught and passed down to you and see how you can apply it to your life. With this episode, one thing that I wanted to share with you guys, the biggest one, is that listening to it, good or bad, doesn't matter what it is, listening and then applying, and then start within yourself. Don't rely on anybody else to bring happiness to your life. It all starts within you. Those are probably the three biggest things that I want you to take from this episode. And one thing that I was talking to Erica de Campos in the gym, actually, I think it was yesterday, and we were talking about people in the gym and how it's crazy. You never really know who's struggling, or you never know who's doing good and bad, really, not just materialistic or just financially, but who's really doing good. And she was like, I had no idea this person was struggling that bad. I had no idea he was, depressed or he was suicidal. I had no idea until I talked to him. And that's true. You never know who's doing good, who's doing bad. You never know. And again, that's something you could get from talking to someone, getting familiar with where they're at, and asking questions and reading their body language and seeing how you can make their day. Sometimes maybe just going for a walk with them or something, but bringing their spirits up. That right there in itself is passing the baton in a way, because you're lifting somebody that's down and doesn't see no future, no hope, and has no faith. Let me explain to you why I feel this way, that we keep making the same mistakes. When you see people that are dealing with depression, anxiety, and they make the same mistake to heal or deal with this, drugs or suicide or all these other things that people do when they're dealing with depression and things like that. And this continues, and there's no cure, there's no fix. It's just keep the same mistake. Oh, we lost one person. Oh, we lost another person. Or, for example, when I went to juvenile hall and I see all these kids coming from broken families, and now they're made these mistakes. Now they ended up in juvenile hall, and now they're surrounded by other people with the same mistakes and the same thing. There are chances of them overcoming that, and not that it's impossible, but it's pretty slim to none. It's pretty hard, because now you're in the system. I talked to one kid and I asked him, what school do you go to? This guy said he's never been to school. He's never been to a high school, never been to a middle school. He'd been in the system since he was a teenager. So he's never been to a middle school or high school, and he's gonna go straight from juvenile hall straight to prison. And so he's never really had an opportunity to be around positive influences. And what I mean by that is coaches, other students that have that. I mean, you're in juvenile hall with people with the same thing. What kind of opportunities or what kind of influences do you really have? And this is why I feel like this is so important to me, is that, what are we doing that's gonna better change or help those situations, reach those kind of people? And in not even people that are struggling, how about helping people that are already doing so good? I used to think that, electronics are bad, or phone and AI and all this is bad. And then I had my good friend was like, I don't think it's bad. He's like, I think it's bad if you use it in a bad way. He's like, but it's actually a lot of good in it. And he planted that seed in me. I'm like, huh? And he explained to me, think about it. You have a phone, you have AI, you have a computer, you have all these different, things that you can use to better your community, to better your life. It becomes bad when you no longer you abuse these tools. And then that kind of changed my perspective on things. Is you're right. We could use these tools to better ourselves. So even those people that are doing good, what can we do to help them better themselves and better whatever it is that they're working on or their goals and help them get ahead? So it's not just the people that are doing bad, it's also the people that are doing good, and even the people in the middle that are doing okay. How can we all help each other better and become better? So as a whole, we're better, not just a certain group. And I think that's where passing the baton is so important, is look to better one another and make your team better and make your teammates better to better your community. And I think that at the end of the day, that's how we're gonna make Earth better, So yeah, that's what hopefully you guys can take these 2 cents that I'm sharing with you guys and kind of motivate you guys to help one another and talk more. On a side note, a movie that I really like that is new, I want to share with you guys. I think is A Million Miles Away. If you have not watched it, I think I just watched it recently. Great movie, very inspiring. I recommend to you guys if you haven't watched it. If you do watch it, let me know what you think after you watched it. Takeaways from this episode: go out there and just talk more, be friendly, befriend people, listen to criticism, listen to different perspectives on life, on things, take it in, and then apply it into your life and get ahead. Let's all get ahead as a whole, as a community. And I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you do know somebody that can gain so much from this, like, share, leave a review, pass it on to them. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I'll be back next month with a guest. I have 2 more episodes that I'm gonna do this year before I do a new season. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. I'm out. Deuces.